Chapter 10-11. A confrontation separated by a year. Sky Strike. After Combat Form's Tyrant's destruction was blocked, he immediately followed up with a Sky Strike. How fluid. This is a very basic combo though. I'm sure many players in the game can do it, but being able to link them together so fluidly isn't easy, Pan Lin shouted. But Lord Grimm was still able to evade it with a leap backwards, Li Yibo said. This type of basic combo probably won't be any threat to Yi Shu, Pan Lin said. Yes, Chu Fei needs to set his own rhythm and make things difficult for Yi Shu to grasp. In other words, facing Yi Shu, such fluidness isn't actually a good thing, Li Yibo said. Yes, Chu Fei's playing is as precise as a textbook, but the problem is, the textbook was written by his opponent. If he continues to fight like this, he won't be a threat, Pan Lin said. His attacks have all been neutralized by Yi Shu. Even though Chu Fei has the initiative and is on the offensive, he hasn't dealt any significant damage to Lord Grimm. He needs to keep a calm mind and not be so anxious, Li Yibo said. Dragon rises from the sea, Pan Lin suddenly cried out. Chu Fei took advantage of an opening and released a high-level skill. It still missed, Li Yibo continued. There were no problems with the execution of this Dragon Rises from the Sea, but just like what we said before, it definitely matters who you're playing against. Facing Yi Shu, your perfect execution happens to be the problem. But it seems like Yi Shu hasn't been able to find any opportunity to counter-attack, Pan Lin said. Chu Fei is playing perfectly, so he isn't giving Yi Shu any opportunities, Li Yibo said. In that case, Chu Fei's playstyle isn't bad then. It's at least put him in a position where he can't lose, Pan Lin said. Li Yibo was rendered speechless. This time, I fell into that trap way too easily. Luckily, it looks like the tides are turning. Combat Form used a Sky Strike. Lord Grimm attacked to block it, while simultaneously leaping backwards. This time, Chu Fei didn't quickly follow up. Sky Strike had been blocked and Lord Grimm may not have taken much damage, but because of the knock-up effect, Lord Grimm's leap backwards was affected and went a bit higher than what was expected. This slight change became a turning point in this match. Combat Form thrust his spear forward with a dragon breaks the ranks. Not many could see such a tiny detail. After seeing the high-level skill come out, the stadium erupted with cheers. Even Li Yibo shouted, "It hit." But Dragon Breaks the Ranks missed. Lord Grimm activated rotor wings and flew towards the sky, dodging the attack. The crowd felt disappointed. Li Yibo, who cried out, "It hit," felt embarrassed. Haha, he used rotor wings to dodge it. Only an unspecialized can be so flexible. It looks like our coach Li isn't too familiar with the unspecialized class either. Pan Lin left this question hanging, when he saw Li Yibo's expression. He knew that Li Yibo probably wasn't too happy with his teasing, but he couldn't deal with it right now. The match was still underway. Falling Light Blade. Lord Grimm uses Falling Light Blade in midair to directly come down. Combat Form turns around and stabs with his spear. Oh, it's a circle swing. Is he going to catch him? No, Lord Grimm pulls his blade back to block the spear. His Falling Light Blade turned from an attack into a block. I'm sure everyone knows. Circle swing's grab priority is somewhat different from normal grab skills. The spear has to hit first before the grab priority comes into effect. If not, then the grab is neutralized. Lord Grimm lands at the rear diagonally. Combat Form chases after him. Dragon Breaks the Ranks doesn't have any ending lag, so Chu Fei was able to react extremely quickly. In that previous exchange, even though Dragon Breaks the Ranks doesn't have a dead angle, Lord Grimm's Falling Light Blade was a back attack. Who would have imagined such a young player could make such an experienced decision? Could this be the intuition of a genius? Seizing the opportunity while the two sides weren't fighting, Pan Lin commented on the previous exchange. After he finished saying these words, Chu Fei's Combat Form rushed to Lord Grimm's side. A dragon tooth came out. It was a very normal combo, but it was timed perfectly. Lord Grimm, who had just landed on the ground, turned around. He lifted his Myriad Manifestations umbrella and opened it up to form a shield. Knight's Blind Shield playstyle? Chu Fei waited in his mind. He didn't doubt that Yi Shu could use any class's playstyle. It was not just battle mages. Many of the playstyles for many of the classes in Glory had been created by him. There were so many that it was impossible to count. Combat Form retreated one step. As he expected, Lord Grimm's myriad manifestations umbrella was quickly retracted. The umbrella tip opened and an artillery shell flew out. Combat Form's step back helped win Chu Fei some time to react. Combat Form twisted his body and dodged the artillery shell. Whoa, Yishu's weapon opened up. It looked like he was going to use a Knight's Shield blind playstyle, but in the end, when he attacked, he didn't hide behind his shield. It was still an unexpected attack. But Chu Fei was ready. Everyone, look. Just before the attack, Combat Form took a step back, giving him enough time to react. If he hadn't taken that step, no matter how fast his reaction speed was, he probably wouldn't have been able to dodge it, Li Yibo commented. Dragon Tooth. Combat Form used another Dragon Tooth. The cooldown on that skill is very low, Pan Lin said. After dodging the artillery shell, Chu Fei used a Dragon Tooth, which had just gone off cooldown. This simple skill was the fastest counterattack that could be made at this moment. The smoke from the tip of the myriad manifestations umbrella had yet to dissipate. But the umbrella canopy once again opened up. Again. Chu Fei didn't dare be careless. He once again chose to retreat one step. However, this time, the umbrella canopy opened up until it was transformed, myriad manifestations umbrella spear form. It thrust towards Combat Form from the same angle. Also a Dragon Tooth. It was a clash between the same skills. In that case, whoever had the higher attack power would have priority. In terms of stats, Chu Fei believed that his Combat Form didn't lose to Lord Grimm. A level 70 silver weapon wouldn't be too different from a level 75 orange weapon in terms of stats, but the weakness was that unspecialized didn't have armor proficiency. All 24 glory classes had armor proficiency. When they used armor that the class was proficient in, there would a bonus in stats. And this was something that an unspecialized character couldn't possess. As a result, even if they were wearing same level equipment, unspecialized characters lacked armor proficiency, so there would naturally be a disparity in stats. Of course, more importantly, Lord Grimm didn't have any silver equipment apart from his weapon, so the stats of his equipment were quite obvious. Even though Chu Fei didn't have the exact numbers, he could do a rough estimate of the capabilities of Lord Grimm's equipment. Since both of us used Dragon Tooth, I should win the exchange. Chu Fei verified this thought in an instant. As a result, he didn't retreat and had his Dragon Tooth continued forward. In this way, the two spears clashed. The degree of precision displayed was astonishing to see. However, right when the two sides clashed, from how the attacks changed due to priority, Chu Fei determined that this wasn't Dragon Tooth. Yes, Lord Grimm hadn't used Dragon Tooth, but another battle mage skill, Double Stab. The first attack lowered Dragon Tooth's striking power, but the first part of Double Stab was weaker in priority than Dragon Tooth. However, after the first stab, Dragon Tooth's speed had been greatly reduced, while the second stab came like lightning towards Combat Form. Use the first hit to interrupt and the second hit to strike. A bunch of words floated in Chu Fei's mind. It was a technique commonly used by Yishu. At the same time, it was also when Chu Fei played for Guild Excellent Dynasty against Happy. When he fought against Yishu, who had been using Soft Mist, Chu Fei had missed the opportunity to use that technique, which Yishu had pointed out to him. A year had passed since then. Last time, he missed the opportunity to use it. This time, he was hit by that very technique. Thoughts floated through Chu Fei's mind. He thought of that match last year to when Yishu was still in Excellent Era to when he was still in the training camp. Team Excellent Era was a top team in the Alliance. The scale of their training camp was far greater than most teams. Among these trainees, 9 out of 10 dreamed of becoming one Autumn Leaf's successor, even if that trainee didn't play a battle mage. Nothing would affect this dream of theirs. Chu Fei had played a battle mage from the beginning. From day one in Glory, he had loved this class at first sight. That year, Team Excellent Era won the champions for the third time in a row. God Yichu's fame soared like the sun. But this god never gave anyone a chance to meet with him in person. The only indication of him was the character that stood on stage. Battle God One Autumn Leaf. The heroic pose displayed when he fought was deeply imprinted into Chu Fei's mind. Later, he joined Team Excellent Era's training camp. However, he was different from the other kids. His dream wasn't to become One Autumn Leaf's successor. He wished to bring his own character and leave the same mark in battle like that year's One Autumn Leaf. Who took a young child's dream seriously? As he gradually stood out in the training camp, Chu Fei became titled as One Autumn Leaf's successor. This was a position that who knew how many trainees envied. However, Chu Fei's dream never changed. He liked his own character much better. He liked his combat form, and in Excellent Era's training camp, he finally got to see God Yi Chu with his own eyes. God Yi Chu was completely different from what he had imagined. The mysterious God Yi Chu, who never appeared in public, wasn't as arrogant as most people thought he was. Every day, with a cigarette in his mouth and smoke circling around him, he chatted with everyone at Club Excellent Era. He was the Alliance's #1 player, but even Club Excellent Era's janitor could proudly say that he had fought a match against Yi Chu before. The janitor wasn't lying. Numerous people in the club played with this god before. Rumors said that whenever these people got into a conflict in game, if they couldn't win, they would pull Yi Chu over to play for them, and Yi Chu would happily go over. God Yi Chu dominated the Alliance, but he enjoyed glory in the simplest and most ordinary ways. Chu Fei had seen him play on an alternate account not just once or twice. Every time, the account was different too. Don't tell anyone. The god would always look at him. In a bit, I'll gift you a good piece of equipment. The god would always pat his shoulder and say, how could there be any good equipment? The alternate accounts that God played on had the worst equipment. Who would have imagined that behind these trash characters stood the god who controlled the most powerful character in the Alliance, Battle God 1 Autumn Leaf. Chapter 10-12. New Skill. The god that Chu Fei saw with his own eyes wasn't so spectacular that it was impossible to look at him, as he had originally thought. The real god was very normal and simple, but it was easy to see that his love for glory came from the heart. Competition wasn't just about winning, it was a joy in and of itself. Chu Fei really liked this quote from the god and was eager for the day he could experience the joy of competition. He never relented in his efforts, hoping that this day would come sooner. Some of the other trainees laughed at him for being dumb. To them, it was way too soon for him to even be thinking about succeeding God Yi Chu. That wasn't how Chu Fei thought. God Yi Chu's successor? This was just a title given to him by others. As for him, he hoped to stand beside God Yi Chu on the battlefield, enjoying the match and pursuing victory together. Although he was coincidentally also a battle mage and it was rather hard to become a core member when there was a class overlap, but no one ever said that it was impossible, right? Chu Fei had worked hard to achieve this goal, and that God would occasionally come to the training camp to give him guidance or play a training match or two with him. His habit was to point out flaws during the battle and then find a chance to personally demonstrate them. There was a reason that he was a master of all classes. Excellent Era's training camp did consist of more battle mages, but there were plenty of other classes. That god could give guidance to any player of any class, even more imposing than the fabled cheat. Chu Fei hadn't lacked that god's guidance back then. Each time it would be his problems that were pointed out before that God showed them how to deal with the said problem. Last summer, when the two met unexpectedly, that God had fought a training match of unprecedented standards, except that time, that God hadn't had the chance to show him how to fix those problems. Now, after a year, that God had finally displayed the way to combo after cancelling a double stab. Though this might have been a coincidence, Chu Fei couldn't help but think of that training match he had last year. Was the unfinished demonstration finally being completed in this match? He couldn't dodge this strike. Combat form has been hit. With the commentator's yell, Lord Grimm followed up on the hit that Chu Fei couldn't avoid. Sky Strike, Shuriken, Moonlight Slash, Gore Cross, Earthquake Sword, Shadow Cloak. Commentator Pan Lin was shouting out all the skills as Lord Grimm used them, but then his voice trailed off. He wanted to cut in again a few more times, but before he could announce the skill, Lord Grimm was already using the next skill. All of them were level 20 and under skills with little end or starting lag, and Lord Grimm's combo was kept at an extremely fast pace, and in addition, he wasn't using any combinations Pan Lin was familiar with. Thus, after a few skills, Pan Lin could no longer keep up with the combos and could only shut up in disappointment. Is he going to just keep this combo up for the rest of the match? Chu Fei found Lord Grimm's combo very alien. He was very much familiar with these skills, but the combination created from them wasn't something within his realm of study. His mind couldn't keep up with the combo. This wasn't just a lack of experience, but it was like stepping into an entirely new realm, as if he was going up against a class from a different game. What made Chu Fei feel even more helpless was that Yi Shu predicted all of his attempted countermeasures, avoiding the chance of him fighting back and prolonging his own offense. The few plans Chu Fei had tried to execute were all quickly foiled because Yi Shu managed to adjust before Chu Fei had a chance to properly put them in motion, causing all of them to fail. Will none of these do? Then it seems like I have no choice. The airborne combat form timed himself to grasp a chance and suddenly twisted. Lord Grim pursued him and made to counter, yet combat form's raised spear didn't stab towards Lord Grim, but rather at the ground beneath him. A halo of light descended from the spear and sunk into the ground. Following that, a pulse of magic spread through the earth and combat form swung his spear in the air. Suddenly, the ground seemed to tear apart and chunks of earth were blown into the air exactly where Lord Grim was. The new level 75 Battle Mage skill, Shattering the Lands. The skill could transfer destructive magical energy and eventually erupt like that to land a sneak attack on an opponent. Level 75 skills only appeared a long time after Yi Shu had left Excellent Era. Yi Shu hadn't helped Chu Fei master these skills, so he had mastered this skill independently. This was finally something that Yi Shu couldn't easily predict. This Shattering the Lands interrupted Lord Grim's offense and helped Chu Fei balance out the situation. Very nice. This Shattering the Lands was used perfectly. As a level 75 skill, there's no standard method of using it yet, so every player uses it according to their own method. We don't know how well Chu Fei has mastered these skills either, but in that instant just now, Shattering the Lands was used beautifully, immediately cutting off any possibility of Lord Grim prolonging his offense combo and giving him a wonderful chance to strike back. Combat form advances. Having interrupted Lord Grim's combo, Chu Fei immediately had combat form strike back. He started with Dragon Tooth, a typical opening, but still one of the most commonly used for battle mages, and Chu Fei used it with the most focus he could gather. Dragon Tooth, Sky Strike, Falling Flower Palm, Circle Swing. These four skills were the lowest level skills for battle mages, but the small and simple combo formed through these four skills was something any battle mage could use with fluency. Under Chu Fei's meticulous mechanics, the combo was flawlessly executed. In an instant, the four skills were all used, but they were still easily neutralized by Lord Grim. Many people knew how to execute these skills flawlessly, but their countermeasures had also long since been perfected. Lord Grim easily dodged the four-skill combo, but he didn't expect Chu Fei to suddenly perform another unexpected action, unleashing another level 75 skill. Cloud Whirling Windstorm. The spear was whirled, whipping up the winds with a magic pulse, and the magic pulse was injected into these winds, raging towards their target alongside the spear. That was when Lord Grim opened up his umbrella, hiding behind it lightly, unafraid of wind or rain. This time, Chu Fei didn't back down, and instead stepping forward when the Myriad Manifestations umbrella opened up, slamming his attack right down against it. Chapter 1013. One more hit. The new level 75 skills were studied by everyone. It didn't matter what skill level 1 was at. In the end, it was still something new. Those at a higher skill level would use it very effectively. Those at a lower skill level would easily get their attacks neutralized. While at the pro level, it was no longer as simple as if the timing was right or wrong, better or worse. What mattered was suitability. Every player had their own style. Every character had different stats. As a result, how a skill was used would be different. The variances from standard combos came from these differences. Pro players would make adjustments to these combos depending on their strengths and their style. Chu Fei was no longer that young training camp kid. He had always dreamt of his character standing on stage. From the very start, he never blindly imitated anyone. He had his own understanding of the battle mage and his own playstyle. It was true that Yi Shu had studied the new level 75 skills, but that didn't mean he could predict how every player would use them. Yi Shu had a good understanding of Chu Fei, but it was like what Li Yibo had analyzed. No one could predict how young players grew. After another year of growth along with Chu Fei's own understanding and utilization of the new level 75 skill, Chu Fei had finally created his own style. Falling Flower Palm. Combat form slid forward and smacked the Myriad Manifestations umbrella. Shields not only reduced the damage from an incoming attack, but effects like knockbacks were reduced significantly too. However, the reduction was directly proportional to the shield's weight. The myriad manifestations umbrella could swiftly change into different forms. As a result, could be determined that the weapon shouldn't be too heavy. Therefore, when the umbrella switched to shield form, Chu Fei was confident that it would be unable to completely block falling flower palm's knockback effect. As expected, when the falling flower palm struck the umbrella, Lord Grimm was forced back. The path of the attack had been from bottom to top. As Lord Grimm slid back, the umbrella also moved up, leaving a huge hole. Chu Fei wanted this result and attacked with a tyrant's destruction. Even though he couldn't completely see Lord Grimm, he knew that his spear would reach him. The umbrella suddenly collapsed with a bang. The umbrella tip transformed into a gun and fired a round of bullets. Chu Fei reacted quickly. Combat form borrowed the momentum from Tyrant's destruction to twist his body and dodge it. However, Lord Grimm borrowed the recoil of his gun to slide even farther back, causing combat form's Tyrant's destruction to miss. Wow, is this for real? The transformations from Lord Grimm's myriad manifestations umbrella are truly too unexpected, Pan Lin sighed, seeing Chu Fei's attack miss. What's more important is that it can change forms instantly, Li Yibo said. But Chu Fei isn't done yet, Pan Lin shouted. Dragon breaks the ranks. Combat form raised his spear and a dragon roared out. Yi Shu had predicted it though. Lord Grimm forcefully changed directions while sliding back, but to his surprise, this dragon breaks the ranks didn't move in a straight line. There was a slight curvature to it. Lord Grimm tried to move away, but in the end, he fell into dragon breaks the ranks path. Dodging was impossible. With no time left, Yi Shu could only have Lord Grimm guard. This pure defensive skill had been completely maxed. Although it could reduce the damage from the attack, Dragon Breaks the Ranks had a much higher priority. Lord Grimm's right hand holding the sword collapsed to the side under the pressure. Lord Grimm was knocked back and also stunned by the attack. Beautiful, Pan Lin cried out. He hadn't thought that after Chu Fei's first attack missed, he would follow up again to quickly make up for it. This attack was very brave. Chu Fei guessed that Yi Shu would have Lord Grimm dodge, but would he dodge left or right? I don't think he knew, but he still had Dragon Breaks the Ranks move in an arc. This is like a penalty kick. Left or right? He had to make a gamble. Chu Fei is playing very decisively, Li Yibo said. If that attack hadn't hit, the big opening would have been patched up, Pan Lin said. Of course. But he made the correct guess and grasped an opportunity. Glory is just this amazing, Li Yibo said in admiration. Yes. Even though Yi Shu quickly put up a guard and reduced the damage, he was still stunned by Dragon Breaks the Ranks. Chu Fei has already started his combo, Pan Lin yelled, Sky Strike into the air and using chasers to keep the target afloat and stunned. This is a conventional battle mage combo, but this combo is also very difficult to pull off. Correct. It's exactly because executing this combo is so difficult that it's given rise to the random chaser combo, which is much easier to execute and still very formidable. More and more players are starting to use it nowadays. In fact, it's actually very rare for someone to execute the original combo anymore, Li Yibo said. But in theory, this combo is impossible to escape from, Pan Lin said. That's only in theory, Li Yibo smiled. Even Yi Chu at his peak was only able to pull off an infinite inescapable combo that one time, no? Haha, the first classic in the history of glory. I've seen that clip. It's truly incredible, Pan Lin said. Yes, classics can't be reproduced. After that, even Yi Chu was unable to do it again. Usually, an inescapable 10-hit combo is already considered quite good, Li Yibo said. But we know that for the random chaser combo, 15 hits within a short time frame isn't anything difficult, Pan Lin said. True. The random chaser combo's burst is much better and is easier to perform. In real combat, I think it's a lot more practical, Li Yibo said. But Chu Fei is choosing this more difficult to control combo. He doesn't have a choice. The random chaser combo requires a certain number of chasers to pull off. There has to be at least 4. However, Yi Shu intentionally limited the number of times that they exchanged blows, making it impossible for Chu Fei to produce many chasers. Chu Fei is choosing this combo out of helplessness. Then what about other combos? Well, if he can get 10 or so hits from this combo, then the damage is quite considerable. Chu Fei probably doesn't want to let this opportunity go so easily. Yeah, he's doing well right now. Yes, neither too slow nor too fast. It's already his 7th hit. 8. Usually, 10 hits isn't a problem. We'll have to see how long he can continue. While the two commentators discussed this, Chu Fei had already reached 10 hits. He stared at the screen, not daring to relax. He knew the difficulty of this combo and he knew how well his opponent understood it, but it was exactly because of his opponent's mastery over it that he could develop this combo into an unbreakable one. 10 hits. The passing line had been reached. Chu Fei still didn't relax. It was a rare opportunity, and he needed to do as much as he could with it. 11, 12, 13. The combo continued. Truthfully speaking, Chu Fei didn't feel like it was that difficult. His brain seemed to be frozen. He was no longer thinking. His fingers moved instinctively, making it so that Lord Grimm never left his spear's tip, making it so that the chasers constantly flew about ready to use at any time. 15, 16. Chu Fei felt excited. He felt like his condition today was extraordinary. Originally, he had been planning on finding an opportunity to end it with a high-level skill when it was about time, but he felt like he could keep going on. All the way until death? Pan Lin and Li Yibo started discussing this topic. The viewers were hoping for it, but Chu Fei wasn't thinking about that. One more hit. That was the only thought occupying his mind. One more hit. He single-mindedly pursued each hit, and he succeeded hit after hit all the way until 20. Chu Fei's combat form, facing a battle mage master, had performed a 20-hit combo. This was more than enough to make the crowd go wild with cheers. Excellent Era's fans felt incomparably proud. They had such a talented player. They felt like they were invincible. But at the 21st hit, there was finally a slight deviation. No one discovered this deviation. Not even Chu Fei did. He had already started his attack. The commentators and viewers were all waiting for this attack to strike. But when this attack came, Chu Fei saw Lord Grimm's movements. 22nd hit? Chu Fei was the first to question it. The attack hit, but Lord Grimm had already transformed into smoke. Shadow clone technique. When Chu Fei realized it, the first thing he thought of was his back. However, the attack came from beneath. Underground tunneling technique. Lord Grimm tunneled out from the earth and attacked. He followed up with a knee strike to send combat form up into the air. The combo started and in an instant, the comboer and comboed switched positions. Combat form floated in the air as Lord Grimm started his combo performance. The crowd had been counting Chu Fei's combo. When they were about to shout 22, Lord Grimm's clone was destroyed and the words were stuck in their throat. In an instant, the combo count was reset. It was no longer combat form comboing. What a pity, Pan Lin wasn't worried about Chu Fei. He was just sad that the brilliant combo had been interrupted. Being able to execute such a combo against Yi Shu as a battle mage is already very outstanding. Only Yi Shu would have been able to seize that tiny opening. Li Yibo said solemnly, but where had that tiny opening even been? He had absolutely no idea. He didn't even know, and he said with certainty that Chu Fei had exposed an opening. Ultimately, it was because he was also convinced that the original combo studied meticulously by Yi Shu was unbreakable if performed perfectly. Chapter 10-14. Can't tell. The commentators had a lot to say to the audience on the combos of a battle mage, but when Lord Grimm began his offensive, Pan Lin was only able to keep up with announcing the skills for a while before he fell silent once more. The same thing had happened twice in one match, being forced to shut up because he couldn't keep up with the pace of the actual match. The last time, Chu Fei had unexpectedly used a level 75 new skill, interrupting Lord Grimm's combo, but this time, he didn't seem to be able to find a similar opportunity. Combat form was airborne, as if suspended there. Lord Grimm darted about him, landing different skills on him continuously. This, Pan Lin felt like he should say something. After switching to Chu Fei's view, he spoke up with some uncertainty. He's using vanishing steps, right? Yes, it's vanishing steps. Li Yibo was much more confident on this than Pan Lin. However, after confirming this, the two couldn't help but exchange a glance. They had both realized something was a little strange. No matter when a high-end technique like vanishing step was used, it would count as a climax to the match. So shouldn't they commentate about this with some sort of passion? Yet what did they do? They were both unnaturally calm. This was because the person on the field was called Yi Shu. To a normal player, using Vanishing Step was a climax, but Yishu using Vanishing Step, wasn't that as simple as eating? In reality, both of them knew that was too much of an exaggeration. No matter who was behind it, the use of Vanishing Step would never be as easy as eating. Like a software that a CPU could only use smoothly when at 90%. Even if Yishu had better hardware, there was still a limit to his actual abilities. Comparing him to the other gods of the Alliance, on par was the best description. Yet when Yishu used these high-end techniques, Pan Lin and Li Yibo would think it very normal. If it was another god, like Wang Jiaxi, Huang Shaoshan, Zhou Zikai, no matter who it was, Pan Lin would probably be willing to yell about it until his voice gave out. That was what you called influence. In the hearts of these people, who had been with glory for a long time, there would always be an unshakable and powerful figure, and that figure was, without a doubt, Yishu. When he accomplished something extraordinary, people had higher expectations of him, and what was extraordinary became ordinary. It's just a vanishing step, that's all. If someone dared say that casually, they'd probably get slapped by the millions of people that played glory. But when you added Yishu to the sentence, it suddenly seemed much more reasonable. It was because of this that Pan Lin and Li Yibo kept their cool when Yishu used Vanishing Step. By then, the program director had cut the shot to Chufei's view already, waiting for them to commentate on this spectacular moment. So, Vanishing Step, what Yishu is using right now is actually a very high-end technique, Vanishing Step. What we're currently broadcasting is Chufei's view. You can see here that Lord Grimm's figure never appears in Chufei's view. Huh? Just as Pan Lin said this, Lord Grimm's figure appeared in Chufei's view. Chance. It was then that excitement got to Pan Lin and he suddenly yelled. The broadcasted shot switched back to the battle at large. Combat form was still suspended in the air, Lord Grimm was still darting about, his attacks not stopping. The situation hadn't changed at all. Ah, what a shame, Pan Lin sighed. He thought that it was Chufei who had missed the opportunity. Li Yibo coughed a little, but couldn't really correct Pan Lin on this. They were live. The so-called chance that Pan Lin had been yelling about wasn't actually any sort of opportunity. The foundations to the Vanishing Step were built on finding an opponent's blind spot and attacking from there. Here, landing the attack was the ultimate goal, and walking into the opponent's blind spot was simply a method to achieve this goal more easily. So, when you could easily hit an opponent, there was no need to expend any excessive effort into finding the said blind spot. The reason Lord Grimm had wandered into Chufei's view was because in that moment, there was no need for him to conceal his attack using Chufei's blind spot. He actually managed to do that. If he didn't check Chufei's view, there was no way Li Yibo would have noticed that. After noticing it, Li Yibo was shaken. He didn't know that Yishu had managed to reach this stage with this skill. Using Vanishing Step continuously was also very tiring. If one was able to use it like this, then it would reduce a lot of unneeded mechanics and effort, but at the same time, there was a lot more precision and accuracy needed in terms of judgment and awareness. Li Yibo was certain that no player in the current alliance was able to use Vanishing Step so masterfully. Li Yibo felt that what he had just seen was a coincidence with Yishu's actions. If it really had been used purposeful, then that was terrifying. At the age Yishu was at, he was already approaching the end of his pro career, yet his technical ability was still at such heights. It was terrifying even to think about it. Suddenly, Li Yibo felt that the broadcasting room was rather cold. Chance. It was then that Li Yibo heard Pan Lin yell out in disappointment again. He, on the other hand, had gotten completely distracted and had no idea what had just happened. He couldn't really go and ask, so he could only say, such a shame. He really shouldn't have missed that opportunity either. Yeah, Chufei has already wasted 2 good chances, Pan Lin said. 2. Li Yibo was stunned, but quickly recovered. Pan Lin was still making Lord Grimm's appearance in Chufei's vision during the Vanishing Step out to be an error on Yishu's part, and a chance for Chufei. It wasn't a good time for him to rain on that parade, but he didn't want the experienced people watching the TV broadcast thinking that he, Li Yibo, wasn't up to standard, unable to even notice something like this. He felt conflicted, but what he heard was Pan Lin counting Lord Grimm's combo. He couldn't keep up with the pace with the skill names, but he could easily count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why was the count resetting? Li Yibo had missed too much while he had been momentarily distracted, and hadn't even managed to catch up when Pan Lin yelled out again, "Ah! It broke, chance. What's wrong with you, Chu Fei?" Pan Lin's tone was extremely frustrated, and Li Yibo kept an eye on the match this time. Just now, Lord Grimm's combo really did break and Chu Fei didn't take the chance to counterattack either. "This really shouldn't have happened," Li Yibo commented. Although Chu Fei is a player without much experience in official matches, he should still have the ability and awareness to try and grasp this chance. However, from combat form's movements, it doesn't seem if he even intended to even try. Yes, starting from Yishu's counterattack until now, Chu Fei has already missed 3 chances to turn the tables. Seems like this young player is a little too young. His rhythm has been messed up by Yishu's single wave of counterattacks. It won't be easy for him to get back into the right mindset in this sort of desperate situation. That's very true. In the audience, Liu Xiaobi was watching the projection while listening to what was coming from his earphones. However, at that moment, he pulled them down with an expression of disdain. "What bullshit? What's up?" Xu Bin turned his head around to ask. Liu Xiaobi had found the Excellent Era fans too noisy, so he put his earphones in. He watched the match occurring in stadium, but he was listening to the commentary on his phone. Then he had heard the two analyzing the current situation and didn't know how to react to it. "Those two guys. They said Chu Fei missed 3 chances," Liu Xiaobi said. 3 chances? Which 3? Xu Bin was puzzled. The first time was when Lord Grimm's figure appeared in the shot of Chu Fei's view. They thought that this was an error in mechanics on Yishu's part, that it was one of the chances, Liu Xiaobi said. Wasn't that because there was no need to use vanishing steps to attack? Right? And the 2 false combos, they thought that the combo had been broken and it was a chance to counterattack, Liu Xiaobi continued. Even Gao Yingji stared wide-eyed, obviously finding this unbelievable. Xu Bin, hearing this, just smiled. It's natural that they can't tell with their lack of skill. But that's not what they think, Liu Xiaobi said. Yeah, so why are you listening to live commentary? Isn't it much clearer if you just look yourself? Xu Bin said. These guys are too noisy, though, Liu Xiaobi said. Currently it isn't very noisy, right? Xu Bin smiled. It naturally wouldn't be very noisy right now. Yishu had successfully counterattacked and his offense still hadn't stopped yet. Seeing combat form's life falling continuously, the Excellent Era fans were extremely anxious. I'm really not sure what they're expecting. Do they really think this rookie can wipe out Yishu? Yishu, Liu Xiaobi said. So long as it's a match, nothing's impossible, Xu Bin said. But at least don't hold such high hopes, Liu Xiaobi said. I say, you seem to have high hopes for happy defeating Excellent Era. According to your logic, you shouldn't hold such high hopes either, Xu Bin said. No, I don't. Liu Xiaobi's retort was weak. How about you, little Gao? What are you trying to make him say? Xu Bin didn't know if he should cry or laugh. This change of topic was a little too random, no? He really is strong. Gao Yingji really did say something. Are you talking about that Chu Fei? Liu Xiaobi said. Do you think it's necessary to point out that God Yichu is strong? Xu Bin mocked. It's Yishu, Liu Xiaobi nitpicked. Xu Bin smiled. Yishu or Yichu, names were just a way to refer to people. They weren't important. He didn't care, so he still used Yichu out of habit. As for this young man, Liu Xiaobi began considering this seriously after hearing Gao Yingji's comment. He really is quite strong, he nodded, saying, I think he'll be a strong rival for you in the future. He already is, Gao Yingji said. Let's see how he deals with the current situation for now, Liu Xiaobi said. If it was you, what would you do? Xu Bin asked. Liu Xiaobi didn't reply and Xu Bin didn't pry. In reality, all 3 of them were already thinking about what they would do in this situation if they were the ones on the field. Chapter 10-15. All Out. False Combo. This technique wasn't like Vanishing Step. Vanishing Step was a purely high-level technique. It was only possible to perform when the user's experience, awareness, and tech skill reached a certain level. False combos were completely different. It wasn't just pro players that could do them. Even normal players often linked skills with false combos. This technique was similar to the previous Battle Mage combo executed by Chu Fei. The skill floor was low. Anyone could follow that approach and do a short combo, but making a 20-hit true combo that was impossible to break, even by a god like Yi Shu, wasn't so easy to perform. Even Chu Fei himself probably wouldn't be able to replicate it if he tried again. Back in the old days, Yi Shu's 0-to-death combo on his opponent had only been performed once. It was because of the endless possibilities that made Glory so fun to watch. False combos had its own unique characteristic. Everyone could use them, but when it was used, even the commentators and analysts might not be able to recognize it. Even the pro players fighting needed to ponder over it. The 3-team Tiny Herb players among the spectating crowd knew that these were false combos. Chu Fei naturally knew it even better than them. False combos weren't counted by the system, but for a player, false combos were even more difficult to deal with because the theory behind false combos lay in the player being unable to make any sort of counterplay. Along with Vanishing Step, Chu Fei was in extremely dire straits. The poor crowd was also unaware though. The commentators misled the viewers. They saw that the combo counter had clearly reset, but Chu Fei failed to counterattack. Yi Shu would then quickly start his combo count again. Everyone felt sorry for Chu Fei. How could they know? It was actually the hardest to deal with when the combo count reset. As a result, when this scene happened for the third time, the crowd started letting out sounds of dissatisfaction. Li Yibo noticed that something wasn't right. After retiring, Li Yibo didn't study Glory as devotedly as he had before. He was already having trouble keeping up with the times. When he commentated a match, there were often times when he felt like he was inadequate. However, at these times, this guy would reassure himself and activate the plausible explanation high-level skill. When he saw the combo reset again and Chu Fei still being helpless, Li Yibo's intuition told him, it's time to activate that skill. He carefully studied this combo reset and the 2 previous ones. Li Yibo had once been a pro player and knew a lot about false combos. After analyzing it for a bit, he finally came to a realization. F***CK, I really do need to activate that skill. Li Yibo felt somewhat annoyed. Beside him, Pan Lin was still wondering if there was a problem with Chu Fei. Li Yibo lightly coughed. Pan Lin's heart suddenly became tense. Mother of God. Li Yibo is casting his high-level skill. If Li Yibo was preparing to use his skill, then it meant that they had previously said something wrong. This is. Chu Fei seems to have been out of form for a while now. Could something have happened to him? In order to be cautious, I think we should do a careful recap, Li Yibo said. Pan Lin listened and knew that the high-level skill was imminent. As expected, Li Yibo carefully analyzed the previous sections and came to the conclusion, it was because of false combos. So it's like that, Pan Lin could only go along with it. He felt somewhat ashamed for his previously misleading commentary. He didn't have Li Yibo's thick skin and couldn't calmly say that it was originally like this and that. It was as if their mistakes hadn't been committed by them. False combos aren't counted by the system, but practically speaking, they should also be considered combos. If we count those, then combat form has been struck by a 32-hit combo already. Of course, these 32 hits are just an informal calculation. It won't be listed as a statistic. I just wanted everyone to know about it, Li Yibo said. How is Chu Fei going to break out of the 32-hit combo? Pan Lin's focus returned to the match. How is it going to be broken? As soon as these words were said, Lord Grimm's combo count reset. Combat form once again fell into a predicament. This was the 4th false combo. It really is difficult. Chu Fei wasn't like what the crowd thought. He wasn't doing nothing and standing there taking the beating. He had been trying his best the entire time, trying to think of a way to break free from his predicament. He just hadn't rashly used any skills yet. Mashing random keys when the situation wasn't right was a noob's method. Pro players would never do that because skills were most threatening when not used. Chu Fei remembered these words. These words had been said by the opponent in front of him and had helped him eliminate many of his bad habits in the beginning. He was unable to return the favor to his coach. He could only prove himself through victory. These were Chu Fei's thoughts. He didn't say them out loud because he knew that the other side knew. Both sides were going all out in this match. This was the best proof. What were his old coach's efforts for? Wasn't it for all of this moment on the stage? After combat form was dealt 2 devastating combos by his opponent, he didn't have much health left. At this moment, other players might have given up already. They probably wouldn't go so far as to randomly start mashing their keyboard, but they would almost be at that point. However, Chu Fei didn't think about it. He hoped to see this match through with a professional attitude. He would clearly be aware of what he was doing at all times. These words were probably also said by Yi Shu. It just that now, everything he could do had already been completely sealed. This was a true match. It was no longer a coaching one inside the team. The other side wouldn't hold back and give him room to guide him. The other side would do his best not to give him any opportunities. Opportunities were sometimes seized, but opportunities sometimes needed to be created. Dragon rises from the sea. Combat form, who had been taking a beating the entire time, suddenly moved. A spear came downwind and magic undulations spread like waves as the spear stabbed forward. It was just that the direction of this attack was slightly off. Yi Shu was using Vanishing Step, so Chu Fei couldn't see him. This attack had been purely a guess. Unfortunately, he guessed incorrectly. Another attack from Lord Grimm fell onto combat form, but at this moment, combat form boldly used Cloud Whirling Windstorm. A high-level skill was released, but the aim was still off. Quite a few people shook their heads. They felt like Chu Fei had given up and started testing his luck. To their surprise, Cloud Whirling Windstorm's magic undulations, along with the waves from Dragon Rises from the Sea, collided. Clouds and mist seemed to form at their intersection. Combat form's figure suddenly became hazy. Everyone was stunned. They had never seen this scene before. New technique? These two words popped up in everyone's eyes. Pan Lin had already started yelling. Dragon Rises from the Sea and Cloud Whirlwind Windstorm can produce such an effect. I've never seen this combo before. It's a combination created by Chu Fei while facing a predicament. The collision between these two skills produce an effect that hides the character. This is an opportunity to turn his situation around. Wow! Pan Lin paused halfway through. On stage, Lord Grimm's myriad manifestations umbrella moved and tore through the mist, throwing combat form down from the air with a circle swing. After combat form smashed into the ground, two sweeping attacks followed. Combat form was still unable to break out of the combo. His created technique didn't seem to be that worthy of praise. For a moment, Pan Lin was at a loss. Who would have thought that Li Yibo would pick it up? What a pity. Yi Shu was still able to catch him. Chu Fei's usage of these two skills was very successful. Against another opponent, he might have been able to turn the situation around. Unfortunately, his opponent is Yi Shu. Experience helped Yi Shu accurately catch his opponent in this situation, but we can see that the situation has at least changed. Yi Shu was forced to stop using Vanishing Step and false combos. After Chu Fei created this effect, Yi Shu couldn't continue his previous combo, which was why he used Circle Swing to pull combat form back. This young Chu Fei has shown us his creative talent, Pan Lin immediately followed. Yes, he has a boundless future ahead of him. Unfortunately, he'll most likely lose this match. However, he fought well against Yi Shu, even executing a beautiful 20-hit combo and producing an unknown effect with new skills. Many things can be learned from this match, Li Yibo said. Yes, Chu Fei is making his final effort. He hasn't given up yet. But it looks like there isn't much of a chance. Yeah. Okay, combat form has fallen. This match has ended with Team Happy's victory. However, besides the deep impression Chu Fei has given with his performance, he was able to take away about half of Lord Grimm's health, Li Yibo said. A part of that was from the back and forths in the beginning. In the middle, there was that incredible 20-hit combo and that final struggle at the end. Yes, being able to win an opportunity to attack in the final moment is due to his beautiful combination of the two new skills. In comparison, Coach Li, what do you think of the winner Yi Shu's performance? Pan Lin asked. An abundance of experience and correct decision-making. Li Yibo gave 7 words as a comment. This was a comment that applied to any player that wasn't a rookie, but what else could Li Yibo say? He didn't understand unspecialized characters at all. If he wanted to give a more detailed analysis, he didn't know where to start. He was depressed that Yi Shu would still be playing in the next round and show off his unspecialized combos. He could only brace himself and continue commentating. This time, he needed to be more careful. He couldn't make a mistake like not seeing a false combo. The commentators treated Yi Shu's matches as a formidable enemy. As for Team Excellent Era, after Chu Fei came down, the player who stood up was their ace player and team captain of the new generation, Sun Xiang.